Imagine standing at the edge of the world, where the land seems to merge seamlessly with the sky, and the only boundaries are those drawn by the wind and the cold. Here, the Arctic tundra stretches endlessly, a realm of stark beauty and profound silence, shaped by forces both ancient and unyielding. This is Earth's northernmost biome, a place where winter reigns for up to 9 months each year. Temperatures can plunge below -40 degrees Celsius, and the sun disappears for weeks on end, plunging the landscape into a long polar night. When the sun finally returns, it brings with it a period of unbroken daylight, igniting a brief but intense summer. The Arctic tundra lies above the 70th parallel, encircling the top of the globe. Its defining feature is the absence of trees. Only low-lying plants can survive here, their roots unable to penetrate the permafrost. This frozen layer of soil and sediment, sometimes hundreds of meters thick, locks away ancient carbon and water, shaping the land's contours and dictating the rhythm of life above. The southern edge of the tundra is defined by the tree line, a dramatic ecological boundary where the last dwarf spruces and birches give way to open, windswept plains. Beyond this line, the struggle for survival intensifies, as plants and animals must endure extreme cold, nutrient-poor soils and relentless winds. Despite its reputation as a frozen desert, the tundra's story is one of water. Annual precipitation is minimal, often less than 25 centimeters, but most of it falls as snow, accumulating in thick drifts. When the brief summer arrives, the upper layer of permafrost thaws, creating a patchwork of shallow lakes, bogs, and saturated soils. These wetlands become vital breeding grounds for countless migratory birds and insects. Life here is a testament to adaptation. Caribou migrate across vast distances, following ancient routes in search of food. Arctic foxes, ptarmigans, and lemmings have evolved thick coats and unique behaviours to survive the cold and darkness. Mosses, lichens, and dwarf shrubs photosynthesize at low temperatures and endure months buried beneath snow, ready to spring to life at the first hint of warmth. The Arctic tundra is a living laboratory of resilience and interdependence. Every organism, from the smallest moss to the largest caribou, plays a role in maintaining this delicate balance. Yet this equilibrium is under threat. As global temperatures rise, permafrost thaws, releasing greenhouse gases and altering habitats. Even the slightest change can ripple through the ecosystem, with consequences that extend far beyond the Arctic itself. The Arctic tundra is a land sculpted by extremes, where the environment is in constant flux, shifting between two worlds with astonishing speed and drama. Here, the landscape is shaped by forces both ancient and immediate, creating a battleground where only the most resilient forms of life can persist. In the heart of winter, the tundra is locked in a relentless freeze. The sun vanishes for weeks on end, plunging the land into a prolonged polar night. Temperatures routinely drop below -40 degrees Celsius, and the air itself seems to crystallize. Winds howl across the barren plains, sculpting snow into sweeping drifts and exposing the raw, elemental power of this frozen wilderness. But as the earth tilts and the seasons turn, the tundra undergoes a breathtaking transformation. The return of the sun is sudden and dramatic, flooding the landscape with light that lingers for weeks without setting. The snow recedes, revealing a tapestry of mosses, lichens, and hardy shrubs that have lain dormant beneath the ice. Throughout the brutal winter, survival is a daily struggle for the tundra's inhabitants. Arctic foxes prowl the snowfields, their white coats blending seamlessly with the landscape. Snowy owls perch silently, scanning for the faintest movement beneath the snow. Reindeer and other mammals endure blizzards and biting winds, relying on thick fur and fat reserves to withstand the cold. Many species retreat into hibernation or migrate to milder climates, leaving only the hardiest behind. As spring approaches, the first rays of sunlight begin to fracture the icy grip of winter. The snowpack softens, and meltwater trickles across the surface, forming temporary streams and shallow ponds. This annual thaw is both dramatic and fleeting as the landscape awakens from its frozen slumber. Summer in the tundra is a phenomenon of perpetual daylight. For nearly 2 months, the sun never sets, casting a golden glow over the land at all hours. This unbroken sunlight triggers a surge of biological activity. Plants race to complete their life cycles, growing, flowering, and setting seed in a matter of weeks. The ground erupts in a mosaic of colour as wildflowers bloom in profusion. Arctic poppies, saxifrages and buttercups paint the tundra in vivid hues. Insects, dormant for most of the year, emerge in vast numbers, pollinating flowers and forming the foundation of the summer food web. The brief abundance draws millions of migratory birds from across the globe. Geese, sandpipers and other species arrive in flocks, taking advantage of the rich feeding grounds and endless daylight to breed and raise their young before the cold returns. Beneath the surface, ancient permafrost acts as an impermeable barrier, trapping meltwater and creating vast, shimmering wetlands. These boggy expanses teem with life, supporting insects, amphibians, and a complex web of interdependent species. For the tundra's wildlife, summer is a frantic race against time. Caribou traverse hundreds of kilometres to reach fresh grazing grounds, while muskoxen graze on the newly sprouted vegetation. Predators such as the Arctic fox hunt tirelessly, feeding their young and storing energy for the long winter ahead. The tundra is a landscape of perpetual transformation, where endless night gives way to unbroken day and frozen silence erupts into a frenzy of life. Here, survival is a test of adaptation, resilience, and timing, as every creature must navigate the razor-thin margin between abundance and adversity in nature's most extreme battleground. Towering above the frozen expanse, wood bison, North America's largest terrestrial mammals, move as living fortresses across the tundra. Their immense bodies, insulated by dense layered fur and a thick subcutaneous fat layer, are evolutionary masterpieces designed to withstand sub-zero temperatures and relentless winds. Each step is deliberate, hooves crunching through crusted snow as they search for the sparse vegetation hidden beneath the icy surface. Their breath hangs in the air, a visible testament to the cold that defines their world. Yet even these giants are not invincible. The Canadian wolf pack, highly intelligent social predators, are the only creatures bold enough to test the bison's defences. Wolves rely on acute senses and silent communication, using the cover of snow-laden forests and the dim winter light to approach undetected. Their movements are coordinated, each member of the pack attuned to the slightest signal as they close the distance with patience and precision. When wolves strike, they do so with precision. The pack fans out, testing the herd's perimeter, searching for any sign of weakness, a limping adult, a calf straying from the centre. In response, bison instinctively form a defensive phalanx, adults facing outward, horns poised, while the vulnerable are shielded within. The air crackles with tension as predator and prey lock eyes, each side gauging the other's resolve. The ensuing battle is a test of endurance and strategy. Wolves dart in and out, harassing the edges, attempting to exhaust their quarry. For the bison, survival depends on unity and stamina. For the wolves, on cooperation and relentless pursuit. Only when a bison falters does the pack close in, risking injury from powerful hooves and sweeping horns. The struggle is brief but intense, the outcome uncertain until the very last moment. A successful hunt is rare, but when it occurs, it sustains the wolf pack for mere days. The carcass is swiftly consumed, leaving little waste, nutrients that ripple through the ecosystem, feeding scavengers and enriching the frozen soil. Even in death, the bison's legacy endures, supporting a web of life that depends on these ancient cycles. This ancient predator-prey dynamic is a keystone of the tundra's ecological balance. Wolves regulate bison numbers, preventing overgrazing, while bison herds shape the landscape, dispersing seeds and fertilizing the earth with their passage. The interplay between these species maintains the delicate equilibrium of this harsh environment. In this relentless environment, every encounter is a testament to adaptation and resilience. The struggle between bison and wolves is not merely a battle for survival, it is the heartbeat of the tundra, a living drama that has unfolded for millennia beneath the northern sky. Here, life persists against all odds, shaped by the eternal contest between predator and prey. In the boundless icy wilderness of the Arctic, the polar bear reigns as the supreme predator, perfectly adapted to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Every aspect of its life is dictated by the shifting seasons and the presence or absence of sea ice, which forms the foundation of its existence. As winter descends, temperatures plummet and the Arctic Ocean freezes, expanding the sea ice into a vast frozen platform. This ever-changing landscape becomes the polar bear's primary hunting ground, stretching for hundreds of miles and offering access to their main prey, seals. In late autumn, pregnant females instinctively seek out deep snowdrifts, where they excavate dens that will shield them from the relentless Arctic winds. Inside these insulated chambers, the temperature remains far warmer than the world outside, providing a safe haven for the birth of their cubs. For several months, the mother remains in her den, fasting and relying entirely on her fat reserves. She endures the long, dark winter, nurturing her tiny blind cubs, who are born weighing little more than a pound. As the sun returns in spring, the den warms and the family emerges. The cubs, now stronger and covered in thick fur, take their first tentative steps into the dazzling white world, guided closely by their vigilant mother. The mother leads her cubs to the sea ice, where she demonstrates the art of hunting. She teaches them to wait motionless by seal-breathing holes, using her acute sense of smell to detect seals hidden beneath the snow and ice. Patience is essential. Hours may pass in absolute stillness as the bears wait for a seal to surface. A successful hunt provides a rich meal of blubber and meat, crucial for the cub's rapid growth and the mother's recovery after months of fasting. As spring progresses, the sun climbs higher and the sea ice begins to thin and fracture. The bears must adapt quickly, travelling across increasingly unstable flows in search of hunting opportunities before the ice vanishes. By early summer, much of the ice has melted, forcing many polar bears onto the barren tundra and rocky shores. Here, the landscape is stark and unforgiving, with little food to be found. On land, Polar bears become opportunistic scavengers. They search for bird eggs, roots, berries, and the occasional carcass. But these meagre resources are no substitute for the calorie-rich seal blubber they depend on. With food scarce, many bears enter a state of semi-hibernation, conserving energy by resting for long periods and minimizing movement. Their bodies gradually use up fat reserves accumulated during the hunting season. As the weeks pass, the bears grow leaner. They wait on the shore, ever watchful for the first signs of returning ice, which signals the start of a new hunting season. The shrinking ice season means less time to hunt and longer periods of fasting. This puts immense pressure on every bear, especially mothers with cubs, who must balance their own survival with the needs of their young. When the ice finally returns in autumn, the bears migrate back to the frozen sea. They resume their relentless pursuit of seals, each successful hunt replenishing vital fat stores lost over the lean summer months. Increasingly, polar bears are forced to swim long distances between fragmented ice floes, braving frigid waters and the dangers of exhaustion and hypothermia. The journey is perilous, especially for young cubs. The polar bear's year is a cycle of endurance and adaptation, shaped by the relentless advance and retreat of the ice. Each season brings new challenges, demanding resilience and ingenuity. Every year, the ice becomes less predictable, and the distances between hunting grounds grow. The bears must navigate a landscape in constant flux, testing the limits of their survival skills. The fate of the polar bear is inseparable from the fate of the ice. Their struggle is a stark reflection of the Arctic's vulnerability, and a powerful reminder of the delicate balance that sustains life in this extreme environment. As the seasons turn and the world changes, the future of these magnificent animals hangs in the balance, an enduring symbol of nature's resilience and the profound challenges facing the Arctic today. The tundra's vitality is sustained by its remarkable small and medium-sized residents, each a master of survival, adaptation, and ecological balance in this extreme environment. Here, every adaptation is a response to the relentless cold, the scarcity of food, and the ever-present threat of predators. Let's explore the hidden lives and ingenious strategies of lemmings, muskoxen, and Arctic foxes. 3 species whose fates are tightly interwoven with the fate of the tundra itself. Beneath the snow's surface, Norway lemmings are tireless architects of the sub-Nevaean world. Throughout the relentless winter, they remain active beneath the insulating snowpack, carving intricate networks of tunnels. These passageways provide both warmth and protection from predators, while allowing lemmings to forage on grasses, mosses and roots hidden below the snow. Their rapid breeding cycles can trigger dramatic population booms, which in turn ripple through the food web, sustaining a host of predators and shaping the fate of the tundra ecosystem. Lemmings are not only prey. Their constant tunneling aerates the soil, redistributes nutrients, and influences the growth of tundra plants, making them essential ecosystem engineers. Muskoxen, living relics of the Ice Age, are built for endurance. Their dense, 2-layered coats, an outer layer of long guard hairs, and a soft insulating underwool called kiviut, shield them from brutal Arctic winds and temperatures that plunge far below freezing. Muskoxen graze on tough sedges and grasses, using their hooves to dig through snow. Their strong social bonds and defensive formations, with adults encircling calves, deter predators like wolves. By grazing and trampling, Muskoxen shape the tundra's vegetation, influencing plant communities and nutrient cycling. During the harshest storms, Muskoxen huddle together, minimizing heat loss and protecting the vulnerable young at the center of the group. Their presence is a testament to the power of cooperation and resilience in the face of adversity. The Arctic fox is a paragon of adaptability. Its fur changes color with the seasons, white in winter for camouflage against snow, brown or grey in summer to blend with the thawed tundra. Agile and opportunistic, the fox hunts lemmings with acute hearing, locating prey beneath the snow. When food is scarce, it scavenges leftovers from polar bear kills or caches surplus food for leaner times. This flexibility allows the Arctic fox to thrive in a landscape of constant change. The fox's compact body, short ears and furry paws are all specialized for conserving heat and moving silently across the frozen ground, making it one of the most efficient predators in the Arctic. Each spring, as the snow recedes, Arctic foxes raise litters of up to a dozen pups in dens dug into the permafrost. The brief Arctic summer is a race against time. Pups must grow rapidly, learning to hunt and survive before the return of winter's harshness. Parental care is intense, with both adults providing food and protection. The den becomes a hub of activity, with pups wrestling and exploring, honing the skills they'll need to survive in one of the world's most unforgiving environments. Together, these species form a dynamic web of interactions. Lemming population cycles dictate the fortunes of predators like the Arctic fox, while Muskoxen influence plant growth and soil structure. The presence and behaviors of each species reverberate through the ecosystem, maintaining the delicate balance of tundra life. When lemming numbers crash, foxes must travel farther and adapt their diets, while Muskoxen's grazing patterns can alter the landscape for years to come. Survival in the tundra is a test of ingenuity, timing, and resilience. Each adaptation, whether it's the lemming's tunnel, the muskox's coat, or the fox's camouflage, represents a solution to the challenges of cold, scarcity, and predation. These strategies are not static. They evolve in response to shifting seasons, fluctuating populations, and the unpredictable forces of nature. In this vast, unforgiving landscape, it is often the smallest creatures, lemmings, foxes, and even insects, that are the true architects of survival, quietly sustaining the tundra's intricate web of life. Their daily struggles and triumphs, though rarely seen, are the foundation upon which the entire ecosystem depends, ensuring that life endures at the very edge of the world. As the relentless midnight sun finally melts away the last remnants of winter, the tundra transforms almost overnight. What was once a frozen expanse now pulses with life, as millions of migratory birds, ranging from delicate sandpipers to regal swans, arrive in vast, swirling flocks. Their synchronized flight patterns ripple across the endless daylight, painting the sky with movement and sound. These arrivals are no accident. Long-tailed skuas and ruffs have travelled thousands of kilometres from distant continents, their internal clocks perfectly tuned to the Arctic's brief window of abundance. They time their journey to coincide with the eruption of lemming populations and the fleeting explosion of insect life, ensuring a rich food supply for themselves and their offspring. Snow geese, loons and plovers follow ancient migratory corridors, guided by magnetic fields and celestial cues, returning to the same nesting grounds year after year. The spectacle is not limited to the skies. On the ground, immense herds of caribou surge across the tundra, their hooves churning the thawed earth as they traverse ancient migration routes. These journeys, spanning hundreds of kilometres, are vital for the ecosystem. Caribou fertilize the soil, disperse seeds, and create pathways that benefit countless other species. Musk oxen graze quietly nearby, sharing the bounty of the brief summer with the avian visitors, while reindeer move steadily across the open plains, their silhouettes etched against the endless horizon. On the open ground, the tundra becomes a stage for elaborate courtship rituals. Dunlins and red-necked phalaropes spin and dart across shallow pools, their movements both a dance and a declaration. Male ptarmigans, perched on rocky outcrops, call out with persistent vigour, their plumage transformed into vibrant displays to attract mates. Every moment is precious. These birds must find partners, build nests, and raise their young before the relentless march of time brings the cold back. The tundra, once silent and monochrome, now bursts into a living mosaic. Wildflowers erupt in a riot of colour, yellows, purples and whites, blanketing the ground beneath the ceaseless activity of birds. Insects swarm in the warm air, providing a vital food source for chicks and adults alike. The air is alive with the chorus of calls, the hum of wings, and the constant movement of life, turning the landscape into a thriving nursery for the next generation. For these summer guests, the tundra is a sanctuary of abundance. Arctic terns, having completed the longest migration on Earth from the Antarctic, now feed their chicks on grassy mounds, their sharp calls echoing across the wetlands. Sandpipers and plovers probe the soft mud for insects, fueling the rapid growth of their young. Caribou and birds gather in the luscious patches, taking full advantage of the fleeting warmth and nourishment. As the sun begins its slow descent and the days shorten, a subtle urgency fills the air. Flocks gather in preparation, their numbers swelling as they feed and rest. At dawn, waves of birds lift off in golden light, embarking on epic journeys to distant continents. Caribou calves, now stronger, follow their herds toward new pastures. The tundra's summer guests depart, carrying with them the nutrients and energy of the Arctic, weaving the tundra into the global tapestry of life. Their passage is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all ecosystems and the enduring resilience of nature in even the harshest environments. Across the vast windswept tundra, plant life is a study in perseverance and ingenuity. Here, the growing season is astonishingly brief, often lasting little more than 6 to 8 weeks, forcing every species to operate with remarkable efficiency. As soon as the snow recedes and the soil thaws, a silent race begins. Seeds germinate almost overnight, and within days tiny shoots push through the cold, damp earth, eager to capture every available ray of sunlight before the relentless winter returns. Tundra plants have evolved to grow low and close to the ground, forming dense mats or cushion-like clusters. This growth habit shields them from biting winds and helps retain precious warmth radiating from the sun-warmed soil. Their roots, unable to penetrate the frozen permafrost, spread horizontally just beneath the surface, efficiently absorbing nutrients and moisture from the thin active layer that briefly thaws each summer. In this nutrient-poor environment, some plants have developed extraordinary adaptations. Carnivorous species like butterworts and sundews supplement their diet by trapping and digesting insects, extracting vital nitrogen and phosphorus that are otherwise scarce in the slow-decaying tundra soils. This unique strategy allows them to thrive where most other plants would struggle to survive. Many tundra plants are cloaked in dense layers of fine hairs, which trap insulating air and reduce water loss through evaporation. These hairs also provide a buffer against frost and windburn. Dark pigments, common in tundra foliage, absorb more solar energy, raising leaf temperatures and boosting photosynthesis, even when the air remains cold. Some species can photosynthesize at temperatures just above freezing, maximizing productivity during the short summer. The rapid burst of growth and flowering in tundra plants is vital for the ecosystem. Their blossoms attract pollinators like bumblebees and flies, while their seeds and foliage provide nourishment for migratory birds and small mammals. These plants form the backbone of the tundra food web, supporting a surge of life during the fleeting summer and stabilizing the fragile soil, which helps prevent erosion and maintains the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Even in the heart of summer, tundra plants face adversity. Sudden snowfalls, freezing winds, and fluctuating temperatures are common. Yet these plants are remarkably resilient, capable of resuming growth within hours after being buried by snow or battered by storms. Their ability to photosynthesize at low temperatures and recover quickly from damage is a testament to their evolutionary success. At the height of summer, the tundra transforms into a vibrant mosaic of greens, yellows, and purples, a living tapestry woven by countless plant species. This fleeting spectacle is a powerful reminder of nature's resilience and the extraordinary adaptations that allow life to flourish at the very edge of survival. The Arctic tundra, once a realm of icy stability and silence, is now at the epicenter of dramatic environmental upheaval. This vast windswept wilderness, spanning the northernmost reaches of our planet, faces threats that are both visible and invisible, each compounding the next in a relentless cascade. Global warming is accelerating the thaw of permafrost, the frozen ground that has locked away ancient carbon for millennia. As it melts, vast quantities of methane and carbon dioxide are released into the atmosphere, potent greenhouse gases that intensify climate change in a self-reinforcing cycle. The ground itself buckles and collapses, creating thermokarst landscapes riddled with sinkholes and unstable terrain. Winters now bring thinner, less reliable snow cover. Lemmings, once shielded by deep snow, are left exposed to freezing temperatures and prowling predators. Arctic foxes and snowy owls, whose survival depends on these small mammals, face dwindling food supplies and increased competition. As temperatures rise, the tree line steadily advances northward, with shrubs and forests encroaching on open tundra. This invasion transforms the landscape, shrinking the unique habitat that countless cold-adapted species rely on and altering the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Caribou and Muskoxen, perfectly adapted to the harsh tundra, now struggle to find grazing grounds as vegetation patterns shift. Nutritious lichens and mosses are replaced by woody shrubs, forcing these herbivores to travel farther and expend more energy in search of food. Polar bears, once rulers of the frozen north, face starvation as sea ice melts earlier each year. With their primary hunting grounds vanishing, these apex predators are forced onto land, where food is scarce and survival is uncertain. The tundra's fragile balance is further disrupted by pollution. Airborne toxins and microplastics, carried by wind and ocean currents from distant industrial centres, accumulate in the snow and soil. These contaminants poison plants and animals, infiltrating the food web and threatening the health of the entire ecosystem. The haunting sight of an emaciated polar bear scavenging for scraps is a stark reminder of the cascading effects of ecosystem disruption. Each missing link in the food chain reverberates outward, destabilizing the entire web of life. As fragile ice cracks and the tundra melts, this once frozen wilderness teeters on the brink. Its fate is inseparable from the health of our planet. What happens here will echo across continents, shaping the future for all life on Earth. The Arctic tundra, a vast and seemingly desolate expanse, is in fact a living tapestry, one of the last great wildernesses on Earth. Its wind-swept plains and icy soils are not only visually stunning, but they also play a pivotal role in regulating our planet's climate and supporting a web of life found nowhere else. Beneath the surface, ancient permafrost stores immense quantities of carbon locked away for millennia. When this frozen ground thaws, it releases greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, amplifying global warming. The tundra's open spaces also serve as vital migratory corridors, connecting continents and enabling the seasonal journeys of caribou, birds, and countless other species. Every day, the tundra's inhabitants, polar bears navigating melting ice, lemmings tunneling beneath the snow, and caribou braving the elements, face relentless challenges. Their survival is a delicate balance, and their struggles are early warning signs of deeper changes rippling through the entire biosphere. But this balance is under threat. Human-driven climate change is accelerating the thaw of permafrost, transforming the landscape at an unprecedented rate. As ice recedes, new plant life emerges, but so do pools of water and exposed soils, releasing even more greenhouse gases and destabilizing the ecosystem. The consequences are stark. Iconic species like the polar bear are forced to travel farther in search of food, while once thriving plant communities struggle to adapt to shifting temperatures and moisture levels. The tundra's resilience is being tested as never before. In response, scientists and conservationists are racing to understand and protect this fragile biome. Protected areas are expanding, and advanced technologies like satellite monitoring and remote sensors track wildlife populations, permafrost stability, and ecosystem health in real time. These efforts provide critical data, guiding restoration and management strategies. International collaborations are driving research into tundra restoration, carbon sequestration, and the resilience of Arctic flora and fauna. These projects are vital, but they must be matched by urgent global action, reducing carbon emissions, restoring damaged habitats, and enforcing strict protections for vulnerable regions. The future of the tundra hangs in the balance. Our choices today will determine whether this wild, irreplaceable realm, its unique life, its climate-regulating power, and its stark beauty will endure for generations to come. The time to act is now, before this world of ice and life is lost forever. Beneath the wind-swept grasses and the frozen crust of the Arctic tundra, a hidden universe teems with activity invisible to the naked eye, yet vital to the survival of this harsh landscape. Within the intricate layers of soil, a vast array of microscopic organisms, bacteria, archaea, and fungi, work tirelessly, forming the very backbone of the tundra's ecosystem. These tiny life forms are the first responders to seasonal changes, orchestrating complex chemical processes that sustain all other life above. As the brief Arctic summer arrives and the permafrost begins to thaw, a dramatic transformation unfolds. Dormant microbes awaken, responding to the influx of moisture and warmth, and set off a cascade of biological activity that ripples through the ecosystem. Bacteria, once locked in icy stasis, spring to life and begin breaking down ancient organic matter, remnants of plants and animals preserved for thousands of years. This decomposition releases a surge of nutrients, transforming the soil from a frozen vault into a fertile bed. Above ground, this invisible nutrient release sparks a rapid burst of growth. Mosses, lichens and sedges flourish, carpeting the tundra in vibrant greens and yellows, their roots drawing sustenance from the newly enriched soil. Specialized bacteria, known as nitrogen fixers, play a crucial role in this process. They capture inert nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into forms that tundra plants can absorb, compensating for the scarcity of nutrients in these cold, ancient soils. Interwoven with plant roots, thread-like fungal networks called mycelium form a vast subterranean web. These fungi act as intermediaries, channeling water and minerals from the soil to their plant partners in exchange for sugars produced through photosynthesis. This symbiotic relationship is essential for survival in the tundra's extreme environment. Fungi help plants withstand prolonged drought and freezing temperatures, enabling them to thrive where few others can. Other fungi specialize in breaking down the tough, fibrous remains of dead plants and lichens. Through this decomposition, they recycle nutrients back into the ecosystem, ensuring that nothing is wasted and that the cycle of life continues uninterrupted. Yet, beneath this delicate balance, powerful forces are at work. The activities of these microbes can have far-reaching consequences for the entire planet. As microbes break down organic material, they release greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide. Once trapped in the frozen ground, these gases now escape into the atmosphere as the permafrost thaws, contributing to global climate change. The delicate interplay between microbial producers and consumers determines whether the tundra acts as a vast carbon sink, locking away greenhouse gases, or as a source, releasing them into the air. Though invisible, these microscopic communities are the silent engineers of the Arctic, shaping the fate of every plant, every animal, and the very climate itself. Their resilience and adaptability have allowed the tundra to persist through millennia of ice ages and warming periods, adapting to every challenge nature presents. As the climate continues to shift, the destiny of these microscopic worlds will not only decide the future of the tundra, but may ultimately influence the stability of our entire planet. Before the first Muskoxen or Arctic foxes ever set foot on these vast frozen plains, the tundra was already being shaped by forces that predate all life. The Arctic tundra's origins stretch back millions of years to a time when the Earth's climate was in constant flux and the land was dominated by titanic geological processes. Over 2 million years ago, during the Pleistocene epoch, the northern hemisphere was repeatedly engulfed by immense glaciers. These glaciers advanced and retreated in powerful cycles, their relentless movement sculpting the land beneath them. Valleys were carved deep into the bedrock, mountains were ground down and rounded, and the landscape was transformed by the sheer weight and force of the ice. As glaciers scraped across the earth, they pulverized rock into mineral-rich soil, leaving behind moraines and gravel that would become the foundation for future ecosystems. When the ice finally retreated, it revealed a land forever altered. The retreating glaciers left behind a mosaic of shallow lakes, undulating hills, and exposed bedrock, each feature a record of the ice's passage. Meltwater from the thawing glaciers flooded the lowlands, creating wetlands and nourishing the newly exposed earth. Braided river channels began to snake through the tundra, their paths shifting with the seasons and the flow of water. The extreme cold brought relentless freeze-thaw cycles, fracturing rocks and shaping the ground into intricate patterns. These cycles created the tundra's signature patterned ground, circles, polygons and stripes etched into the surface by nature's hand. Beneath this thin layer of life, a hidden world lies frozen. Permafrost, a layer of soil and rock frozen for millennia, forms both the foundation and the barrier for everything above. Locked within this icy ground are ancient plant remains and organic material, preserved for thousands of years. The permafrost directs the flow of water, forcing it to move across the surface and shaping the landscape above. In summer, when the upper soil thaws, water pools into seasonal ponds and marshes, creating vital habitats for countless species. In some areas, the pressure of freezing and thawing pushes the ground upward, forming ice-cored mounds known as pingos. These silent, rounded hills stand as monuments to the frozen power hidden beneath the tundra's surface. Yet the tundra is not a static world. Fierce Arctic winds sweep across the open plains, sculpting snow and shaping the land anew each season. Snow and sand are pushed into shifting dunes, while rivers continue to erode the banks, carrying silt and sediment northward. These rivers transport nutrients and minerals, feeding the Arctic Ocean and influencing distant ecosystems. Occasionally, volcanic eruptions have dusted the tundra with ash, leaving behind layers that enrich the soil and alter its chemistry. These nutrients support the growth of hardy Arctic plants, allowing life to flourish in an otherwise unforgiving environment. The tundra's geological legacy is written in every contour and feature of the land. The shape of the terrain determines the flow of water, the distribution of nutrients, and the microhabitats that form across the region. Only the toughest plants can anchor themselves in the rocky, nutrient-poor soil, clinging to life where others cannot survive. Animals seek shelter in the land's natural features, hollows, boulders and ridges, each shaped by ancient geological events. Every weathered stone and frost-cracked boulder is a silent witness to the slow, patient forces that have forged this extreme environment. By understanding the tundra's ancient geological story, we uncover the foundation upon which all Arctic life depends. This is a landscape sculpted by ice, water, wind and time, each element leaving its mark in a never-ending cycle of change. Beneath the endless Arctic sky, the tundra continues to evolve, its story written in the land itself, waiting to be discovered. High above the Arctic tundra, the landscape is a living chronicle of time, its surface etched by the relentless cycles of the seasons. Here, the rhythm of life is dictated by the Earth's axial tilt and the unyielding journey of the polar sun, which together orchestrate a symphony of extremes. The year divides itself into two stark realities: months of unbroken daylight, when the sun never sets, and a long, unyielding polar night, when darkness reigns for weeks on end. As spring approaches, the sun's arc slowly rises above the horizon, its rays coaxing the frozen world to awaken. Snow and ice, locked in place for most of the year, begin to yield, their crystalline structures dissolving into rivulets of meltwater. This sudden thaw inundates the low-lying tundra, transforming it into a mosaic of shallow pools and ephemeral wetlands. These waters become vital breeding grounds for migratory birds and insects, setting the stage for a brief but intense burst of life. Despite the return of sunlight, the air remains crisp and cool. Temperatures rise rapidly, yet rarely surpass 10 degrees Celsius, maintaining a delicate balance between warmth and lingering frost. Beneath the surface, permafrost endures, allowing only a thin, active layer to thaw. Water, unable to penetrate the frozen ground, accumulates above, creating a patchwork of bogs, marshes, and saturated soils that define the tundra's unique hydrology. Summer arrives in a rush, lasting a mere 6 to 10 weeks. During this fleeting window, the sun circles overhead, casting the land in perpetual daylight and erasing the concept of night. The surge of solar energy triggers an explosion of growth. Hardy plants race to flower and set seed, while swarms of insects emerge, providing a crucial food source for nesting birds and other wildlife. Warm air masses occasionally sweep in from the south, bringing brief spells of relative warmth. Yet the tundra remains vulnerable to sudden cold snaps and biting winds, a reminder of the ever-present volatility of this environment. Thunderstorms are rare, but dense fog and low clouds frequently shroud the land, muting the landscape and diffusing the sunlight. The sun's low angle stretches shadows across the ground, signalling the swift approach of autumn. As the season turns, temperatures drop precipitously. The first snowflakes can fall as early as August, dusting the tundra in a thin, icy veil and marking the end of the brief summer. Each day the sun sinks lower, its warmth fading. Eventually it slips beneath the horizon, plunging the tundra into a prolonged twilight that deepens into the polar night. For months the land is enveloped in darkness, broken only by the ethereal glow of the aurora borealis. These shimmering curtains of light, born from solar particles colliding with the atmosphere, dance silently above the frozen expanse. Temperatures can plunge to -40 degrees Celsius or lower. Fierce blizzards, driven by katabatic winds descending from the polar ice cap, sweep across the plains, sculpting the snow into drifts and erasing all traces of life. The tundra's weather is a tapestry of extremes, rapid shifts in temperature, sudden storms, and prolonged periods of cold and calm. Each phenomenon leaves its mark on the land and its inhabitants. The ever-present permafrost ensures that only the uppermost soil thaws each summer. When ice-rich ground melts, it collapses, forming thermokarst depressions that reshape the landscape year after year. Repeated freeze-thaw cycles drive frost-heave, pushing rocks and soil upward and sculpting the ground into distinctive polygons and hummocks, signature features of the Arctic terrain. In the depths of winter, hoarfrost crystals form on every exposed surface, their intricate patterns catching the faint daylight and transforming the tundra into a landscape of sparkling ice. The tundra's seasonal rhythms are both precise and unpredictable. Each year brings subtle variations, an early thaw, a late snow, a sudden storm, that test the resilience of every living thing. Life here is defined by adaptation to these rapid changes. A sudden snowstorm or a swift drop in temperature can alter the fate of entire populations in a matter of hours. Every organism, from resilient mosses clinging to the soil, to caribou traversing vast distances, to the Arctic fox braving the cold, is finely attuned to these cycles. In the tundra, weather is not merely a backdrop. It is the ultimate architect, shaping every aspect of existence in this extreme and beautiful wilderness. Beneath the windswept grasses and mosses, a hidden universe flourishes, one that is as essential to the tundra's survival as the mighty caribou or the elusive Arctic fox. Here, the smallest inhabitants orchestrate the cycles of life and death, unseen yet indispensable. Insects and invertebrates have evolved into true masters of survival, each species boasting a unique arsenal of adaptations to withstand the Arctic's relentless cold, fierce winds and fleeting warmth. When the brief Arctic summer arrives, the tundra transforms almost overnight. The landscape bursts into a tapestry of green, dotted with wildflowers, and teems with a sudden explosion of invertebrate life. Swarms of mosquitoes and blackflies ascend from thawed pools in numbers so vast they can darken the air, forming a living cloud that hovers above the water's surface. Their entire existence is compressed into a few precious weeks. Eggs hatch as soon as the ice melts, larvae develop rapidly in the shallow, sun-warm pools, and adults emerge in perfect synchrony with the short-lived abundance of standing water. Mosquito larvae thrive in silty ponds, their slender bodies equipped with specialized breathing tubes that pierce the water's surface, allowing them to draw oxygen even as they remain submerged and protected from predators. As adults, female mosquitoes emerge ravenous, seeking blood meals to fuel egg production. They become a crucial food source for migratory birds and small mammals, transferring energy up the food chain. Beneath the surface, springtails and mites scuttle through the damp, organic-rich soil. These tiny decomposers break down decaying plant matter, recycling nutrients and maintaining the delicate balance of the tundra ecosystem. Despite being cold-blooded, these minuscule creatures have evolved remarkable biochemical defenses. Antifreeze proteins in their cells prevent the formation of lethal ice crystals, allowing them to survive temperatures that plunge far below freezing. Among the tundra's most extraordinary survivors is the Arctic woolly bear moth caterpillar. This insect spends the majority of its life in a state of suspended animation, frozen solid through the long, dark winters. Each year, the caterpillar endures repeated cycles of freezing and thawing, its tissues protected by natural cryoprotectants that prevent cellular damage. This process can last up to 7 years, with the caterpillar feeding briefly each summer before finally pupating and emerging as a moth, ready to reproduce and continue the cycle. The tundra's spiders and beetles are equally ingenious, each species exploiting a unique ecological niche. Wolf spiders, for example, prowl the mossy ground, their bodies insulated by dense water-repellent hairs that trap air and minimize heat loss, enabling them to remain active even in chilly conditions. Ground beetles burrow deep into the soil, seeking refuge where temperatures remain more stable and the risk of freezing is reduced. They emerge only when the midnight sun warms the surface, timing their activity to the narrow window of opportunity provided by the Arctic summer. Even during the endless darkness of the polar night, life persists. Some invertebrates remain active beneath the snow, insulated from the harshest cold by a protective layer of ice crystals and snowpack. Iceworms and nematodes wriggle through the permafrost, extracting moisture from ice crystals and feeding on microscopic organic debris, sustaining themselves in an environment where liquid water is scarce. These resilient invertebrates form the foundation of intricate food webs, nourishing birds, small mammals, and even predatory insects, ensuring the flow of energy through the ecosystem. Through a combination of biochemical ingenuity and astonishing life cycles, tundra insects and invertebrates endure where few others could, adapting to every challenge the Arctic throws their way. Their tireless activity aerates the soil, recycles nutrients, and supports the brief but intense productivity of the Arctic summer, making them indispensable engineers of the tundra. In this frozen frontier, it is these tiny, tireless engineers who keep the tundra's pulse beating, ensuring that life endures against all odds, season after season. Beneath the tundra's windswept surface lies a hidden, unyielding layer that defines the very essence of this ecosystem: permafrost. This frozen foundation is not simply a layer of ice, but a complex mixture of soil, rock and organic material that has remained below 0 degrees Celsius for at least 2 consecutive years, and in many places for millennia. Stretching across vast expanses of the Arctic and subarctic, permafrost can reach astonishing depths, sometimes plunging more than 500 meters beneath the surface. It is the silent bedrock upon which the Arctic's unique web of life depends, anchoring the landscape and influencing every living thing above. Locked within these icy soils are remnants of ancient plant material, seeds, and roots, organic matter that has accumulated and been preserved over tens of thousands of years. This frozen archive stores nearly twice as much carbon as is currently found in the Earth's atmosphere, making permafrost a critical regulator of the planet's climate. Each summer, only a thin, active layer at the surface thaws, allowing plant roots to briefly penetrate the soil and absorb nutrients. This fleeting window of warmth is vital for the tundra's short but intense growing season, before the relentless cold returns and the ground refreezes. The shallow rooting zone restricts plant growth, resulting in a landscape dominated by low, dense vegetation, mosses, lichens and dwarf shrubs. These species are specially adapted to survive in nutrient-poor soils, with rapid life cycles that take full advantage of the brief Arctic summer. Yet the influence of permafrost extends far beyond the plant community. It shapes the very contours of the tundra, dictating where water pools, how soils drain, and even the formation of unique landforms. The freeze-thaw cycles of permafrost sculpt the landscape into rolling hills, mounds, and intricate patterns. These features, such as ice wedges and polygonal ground, are visible signatures of the dynamic processes occurring beneath the surface. Pulsas, raised mounds of peat and ice, along with frost heaves and patterned ground, emerge as the soil expands and contracts with seasonal freezing and thawing. These landforms are not only visually striking, but also influence water flow and habitat distribution across the tundra. However, as global temperatures rise, the permafrost is beginning to thaw at an unprecedented rate. This thawing process is transforming the landscape with profound consequences for the entire ecosystem. The once stable ground becomes unstable, sending ripples through the ecosystem. Animals and plants must adapt rapidly to these shifting conditions as their habitats and food sources are altered. As the ice within the soil melts, the ground sags and collapses, forming thermokarst ponds and dramatically changing drainage patterns. These new wetlands can disrupt established plant communities and alter the availability of water for wildlife. Waterlogged soils may suffocate some plant species while simultaneously giving rise to new wetlands that attract migratory birds and aquatic life. The balance of habitats shifts, creating winners and losers in this evolving environment. Most critically, as permafrost thaws, it exposes and releases ancient organic matter that has been locked away for millennia. This material becomes available for decomposition, setting off a chain reaction with global implications. Microbes in the warming soil awaken and begin to break down this newly available organic matter, releasing greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere. These emissions further accelerate climate change, creating a powerful feedback loop. As this cycle intensifies, the transformation of the tundra accelerates, threatening to reshape not only the Arctic, but the global climate system itself. The stability of animal burrows, the timing of plant growth, and the chemistry of the soil are all intimately linked to the state of the permafrost. Even subtle changes can disrupt the delicate balance that has persisted for thousands of years. For Arctic foxes, lemmings and caribou, these shifts mean altered migration routes, changing food webs and uncertain futures. Their survival depends on the resilience of the tundra's foundation. Permafrost is far more than frozen ground. It is the hidden engine that regulates life, water and climate across the tundra. Its stability is essential for the survival of this extraordinary biome. As the Arctic warms, the fate of permafrost is inextricably tied to the future of this fragile, irreplaceable world, one whose changes will echo far beyond the tundra's frozen horizon. In the heart of the polar night, where the tundra stretches endlessly beneath a shroud of darkness, a celestial phenomenon transforms the sky into a living canvas, the aurora borealis, or northern lights. Waves of luminous green, violet and crimson unfurl across the heavens, their movement both graceful and unpredictable. These radiant curtains ripple and twist, illuminating the snowbound wilderness with a surreal, shifting glow. The aurora is born from a cosmic interplay. Charged solar particles, travelling millions of kilometres from the sun, are drawn toward Earth's magnetic poles. As they collide with atmospheric gases high above the tundra, energy is released in the form of shimmering light. This ethereal display is not merely a spectacle for the eye, it is a force that subtly influences the world below, casting a gentle radiance over the frozen expanse and shaping the rhythms of life in the Arctic. As the solar wind collides with Earth's magnetic shield, bursts of energy ignite the sky, turning the long, frigid nights into a theatre of light and shadow. For the tundra's nocturnal inhabitants, such as the elusive Arctic fox and the vigilant snowy owl, the sudden illumination can alter patterns of movement and hunting, as the landscape is momentarily transformed by the aurora's glow. The shifting light casts elongated shadows across the snow, sometimes disrupting the delicate balance between predator and prey, and extending the hours of visibility in a world otherwise ruled by darkness. Beyond its visual splendour, the aurora interacts with the upper atmosphere, ionizing gases and subtly altering the chemical composition of the air at high latitudes. While these changes are invisible to the naked eye, scientific instruments have detected the formation of rare molecules created by the aurora's energy, which slowly drift down to the tundra's surface, influencing the environment in ways still being uncovered. The northern lights are woven into the very fabric of the tundra's existence, silently guiding the cycles of life and marking the passage of time. As winter deepens, the aurora intensifies, signalling the arrival of the coldest, darkest months. For those who inhabit this land, the lights serve as a natural calendar, heralding the changing seasons and the endurance required to survive them. The frozen ground and crystalline snow act as mirrors, scattering the aurora's colours in every direction. The landscape itself seems to pulse with energy, as if the tundra is alive with the heartbeat of the cosmos. In this remote wilderness, the aurora borealis is not just a fleeting wonder. It is a vital thread, connecting the land to the sky and the present to the ancient past. The northern lights remind us that the forces shaping the tundra are both terrestrial and cosmic, linking this frozen battleground to the vast, mysterious universe beyond, an eternal ballet of light, energy, and life. Beneath the shimmering curtains of the northern lights, the Arctic tundra's story is also written by forces both ancient and relentless, ice and wind. Here, the landscape is a living sculpture, endlessly carved and shaped by the elemental power of freezing temperatures and ceaseless gales. With each passing season, the tundra's surface transforms. In winter, biting winds sweep across the plains, driving snow into sharp-edged drifts and etching intricate patterns onto the frozen ground. Over centuries, these winds have polished stones, uprooted fragile plants, and exposed the bones of the earth, leaving behind a terrain that is both stark and breathtaking. In spring, as the grip of winter loosens, the melting ice reveals a hidden world beneath. The ground, once rock-hard, softens into a patchwork of thawing soil and lingering permafrost. Here, the process of freeze and thaw, known as frost heaving, pushes rocks to the surface and forms mysterious geometric patterns, circles, polygons and ridges that stretch for miles across the tundra. These patterns, silent signatures of the land's slow transformation, are created not by human hands, but by the delicate interplay of temperature, moisture, and time. Glaciers, too, have left their mark. Massive rivers of ice, long since retreated, have gouged valleys and deposited boulders, shaping the tundra's rolling hills and scattered lakes. Even now, ancient ice lies buried beneath the surface, its slow melt feeding streams and creating pockets of wetland that teem with life during the brief summer. The wind, ever present and unpredictable, is both a sculptor and a messenger. It carries seeds across vast distances, disperses clouds of fine snow, and whispers through the stunted willows and hardy grasses. For the animals of the tundra, these winds dictate movement and survival. Herds of caribou navigate by scent, following trails swept clean by the breeze, while birds ride the updrafts in search of distant breeding grounds. In this realm, the elements are the true architects. Ice and wind, working in tandem, create a landscape as dynamic as it is fragile, constantly shifting, always adapting, and forever shaped by the quiet power of nature's hand. The tundra's beauty lies not just in what is seen, but in the subtle, ongoing symphony of elemental forces that continue to sculpt its wild, enduring heart. In the vast openness of the Arctic tundra, silence is never truly silent. Listen closely, and you'll discover a hidden world of sound, each note a testament to the resilience and rhythm of life in this remote wilderness. As the midnight sun hovers on the horizon, the soft crunch of snow under the paws of a roaming fox echoes across the frozen expanse. The distant howl of a wolf, carried by the wind, weaves through the air like a haunting melody, a reminder of the delicate balance between predator and prey. During the brief summer thaw, the tundra awakens in a chorus of life. Water trickles from melting permafrost, feeding shallow streams that gurgle and ripple over pebbled beds. The buzz of hardy insects, midges, mosquitoes and bumblebees fills the air, their tiny wings a constant hum above the carpet of moss and lichen. Overhead, the sharp cries of migratory birds, Arctic terns, sandpipers and snowbuntings, rise and fall, interlacing with the gentle rustle of grasses swaying in the breeze. Even in the depths of winter, the tundra's soundscape persists. The whisper of wind brushing across frozen ponds, the brittle snap of ice forming and fracturing, and the faint rhythmic breathing of hibernating creatures beneath the snow, all create a subtle symphony unique to to this land. These sounds, though easily overlooked, are vital threads in the tapestry of the tundra. They signal the changing seasons, warn of approaching storms, and reveal the presence of life in a place that often appears empty and still. For those who pause to listen, the tundra's soundscape tells a story as ancient and intricate as the land itself. A story of adaptation, survival, and the enduring pulse of the wild north. In the Arctic tundra, the interplay of light and darkness shapes every moment of life. Here, the sun's journey is unlike anywhere else on Earth. During the endless days of summer, the midnight sun hovers above the horizon, casting a golden glow that never truly fades. Shadows stretch and twist across the rolling landscape, painting the tundra in hues of amber and silver. Plants, animals, and even the smallest insects adapt to this unbroken daylight, seizing every precious hour to grow, hunt, and prepare for what lies ahead. But as the seasons turn, the sun's warmth retreats. The long polar night descends, cloaking the tundra in near-constant darkness for weeks on end. Under this twilight veil, the land transforms. The faint glimmer of moonlight reflects off snow and ice, while the aurora borealis weaves ribbons of colour across the sky, illuminating the frozen ground with a silent spectral dance. For the creatures of the tundra, this cycle of extreme light and darkness is both a challenge and an opportunity. Arctic foxes and snowy owls rely on their keen senses to navigate the gloom, while caribou and lemmings adjust their rhythms to the shifting day and night. Even the tiniest mosses and lichens respond, altering their growth to match the sun's seasonal rhythm. In this world where shadows linger and light returns in dramatic fashion, survival depends on adaptation. The tundra's inhabitants have learned to read the subtle signs, glimmers on the horizon, the angle of the sun, the deepening blue of the polar night. Each day, each night, is a testament to the resilience of life on the edge of the world, where darkness and light are both a challenge and a gift. Beneath the ever-changing sky, the Arctic tundra becomes a realm of subtle communication, a place where survival hinges not only on strength, but on understanding the silent language woven into the frozen air. Here, every footstep, every call, every movement carries meaning. Caribou herds murmur through the snow, their hooves clicking and crunching in unison, a chorus that signals safety and cohesion as they traverse the icy expanse. In the dim twilight, Arctic foxes utter soft yips and barks, hidden exchanges that help mates and kits reunite after foraging excursions. The low, haunting howls of wolves ripple across the tundra, marking territory and summoning the pack, their voices carrying for miles in the crisp, thin air. But not all communication is sound. Muskoxen lower their heads and stamp the ground, sending vibrations through the permafrost, a wordless warning to would-be challengers. Snowy owls, nearly silent in flight, flash their wings in coded signals to fledglings learning the ways of the wild. Even the lemmings, scurrying under the snow, leave intricate networks of tunnels, a secret roadmap for those who know how to read it. Each species has evolved its own dialect, perfectly tuned to the tundra's unique challenges. Visual cues, scents, vibrations, and calls form a complex tapestry of interaction, allowing animals to find food, avoid danger, and nurture the next generation. In this vast, wind-swept landscape, where voices are few and distances are great, these whispers in the frost are vital threads binding the community of the tundra together. As the seasons shift and the sun returns, the language of the tundra shifts with it. New calls, new signals, new stories written in the snow and ice. In these quiet exchanges, we glimpse the extraordinary intelligence and resilience of Arctic life, thriving in a world where every whisper counts. Across the seemingly endless white, the Arctic tundra holds more than the life that moves upon it today. It cradles a living history, etched into the land by every creature that has ever passed. As the sun grazes the horizon, the snow becomes a canvas, capturing footprints, trails, and patterns that tell stories both ancient and new. A single set of caribou tracks weaves through the powder, tracing migratory paths followed for generations, guided by memory and instinct. The broad, splayed hooves press deep into the snow, marking the passage of a herd that once thundered across the Ice Age steppe, their journey echoing through millennia. Nearby, the delicate imprints of an Arctic fox spiral around wind-blown drifts, evidence of a night spent hunting and searching for the faintest sign of prey beneath the crust. Each paw print is a testament to survival in a world where opportunity comes and goes with the shifting wind. In the shadow of a boulder, the unmistakable stamp of Muskoxen remains, frozen in time, a silent record of a defensive circle formed against predators. Even the gentle ripple of a ptarmigan's wing leaves a ghostly outline in the snow, a fleeting signature soon to be erased by the next storm. But the tundra's history is not only written above ground. Beneath the surface, ancient bones and preserved plant material lie locked within the permafrost, silent witnesses to epochs past. Here, the remains of mammoths, woolly rhinos, and ancestral wolves wait, telling of an age when giants roamed these lands. As the seasons turn, wind and thaw erase some stories and reveal others. The tracks fade, but the memory endures, each new generation of wildlife adding its own chapter to the tundra's evolving chronicle. In this way, the Arctic remains a living archive, every footprint and fossil a reminder of the enduring connection between past and present. Through these footprints in time, the tundra whispers not just of survival, but of legacy, a record written in snow, soil and ice, waiting for those who know how to read it.